Hi everyone, this is Professor Benjamin, and this lecture will be dealing with political geography. Typically it's in session 6, but it could be in other sessions depending upon what semester that you're taking this class. This will probably be a two-part video because there is so much to cover. So one of the things that I will require probably for a good amount of semesters is this film Priced Out. It is a documentary and it's really important for individuals to watch, and it talks about the difference between gentrification and urban renewal. They're two different things. It is a wonderful documentary that was made, and while it is an hour long, I think it's really important for students to understand how redlining, gentrification, urban renewal has really impacted communities throughout the world. So this deals with Portland, Oregon, and it follows individuals through their journeys as their area is gentrified or goes through urban renewal and their feelings on that. So it's really important for you to watch this documentary. I know it's an hour of your life, but it's a really important hour of your life, and I need you to watch this. So I know that a lot of you will probably take the easy way out and you'll just look up reviews of this, but it's really important for you to watch this. And on the midterm exam, there is questions that deal specifically with the film. And so I need you to watch the film, and I also need you to really think about take notes as you're watching the film. So it is definitely not something for you just to look up the footnotes for this film, okay? So really important film for you to watch. And gentrification and redlining, of course, are occurring in Philadelphia as we speak, even especially near our college. So you'll actually watching the lines of gentrification move up Spring Garden Street. And so it's really important for us to understand and know what urban renewal and gentrification are. Philadelphia, and we're going to talk about this in a little while, in terms of redlining, is one of the major cities that has been impacted by redlining. And while the laws were repealed in the 1970s, redlining will always and continuously impact Philadelphia and the residents of Philadelphia. It is how neighborhoods were shaped. It is why certain neighborhoods in the city are under funded, and it will continue to happen. So the legacy, even though the laws were repealed and it was made illegal to redline, it will continue to impact the city of Philadelphia forever. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to go through is PowerPoint presentation for political geography. You'll see that there are a lot of additional articles on gerrymandering, and this is definitely a current topic. It's happening all over the United States. There are a lot of court cases that are going on as we speak in terms of gerrymandering. The list could go on and on. So I have a couple articles here for you, and I do know that some of these articles are dated, but it just goes to show you that this topic keeps coming up more and more and more often. So gerrymandering is something that is a big deal in the United States. It's how we draw maps, lines for voting districts, and we try and, of course, draw those lines around like voters, so that we get those people to vote for a specific person, and then that person then is part of the electoral college, right? And that becomes a really big deal. So it's really important because, as we know, it's not the popular vote that votes for the president of the United States. It's rather the electoral college that makes a determining factor on who's president of the United States. So if we can draw political lines that vote in a specific way for a specific individual, then that individual gets into office, and then that individual is the person who votes for their political party line president. So this has been going on for years. We can either pack like voters together or split them apart, and we'll talk about that in this video as well. So gerrymandering is important to know. There's a couple other articles down here that talk about why dealing with political boundaries, why is it really important that Antarctica is part of the discussion today? While Antarctica is covered in ice today, there are a lot of countries that have a stake in Antarctica. And if and when the ice melts on Antarctica, yes, there will be land under that. And under that land, especially in Antarctica and in the Arctic, contains a lot of natural resources. And the countries that have staked claim on Antarctica will have a big issue because Antarctica is cut up into very small pieces by numerous countries, and those boundaries will be at stake. And wars may start over those boundaries, or treaties may be written to say, well, you can have this land and this is my land. I mean, those treaties are already written, and people and countries have staked claim to parts of Antarctica, but you have numerous countries that have staked a claim to Antarctica. And so everyone's just going to have a little sliver of Antarctica. So it will be definitely a question. So an important topic to cover. So I'm going to head to the PowerPoint now, and I want to talk about a couple. There's going to be a lot of terminology that you need to know in this session because it's very hard to understand when we're talking about specific things what we mean by that. So in the United States, we reference a state as, states make up our country. But in a lot of other areas, we call a state an actual country. So some of these terms can be confusing. So it's really important that you read the textbook and you understand the terminology that is used, okay? So political geography is really important for us to talk about because it's the study of the ways in which humans have divided up the surface of the earth for purposes of management and control, okay? A territoriality is when someone or some group seeks to establish the rules governing what happens in that space. Okay, so it becomes their territory, right? How power is shared or not, and who has the right to access those spaces. So throughout human history, right, the whole idea is to control land, and then you control the people of that land, right? So you want to control territory. In the United States, we have done this. Europe has done this. Spain has done this, right? They've set out to control territory, land. And that's something that's really important. So how is this political power expressed geographically? And there are a couple different theories on why countries want certain land masses. And this has come into play specifically recently with Russia and Ukraine. Okay. And if you want to know why, like, why is this war happening? Well, it's happening because Putin wants land. He wants to own the hearthland of the world. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So he invaded Ukraine because of the resources that Ukraine has. And if he can control the heartland of the world, then he can control the world. And so there's these theories, okay? So the first theory is the organic theory, okay? And this is, remember, the reason that we're going over these theories is why countries want what they have in terms of land masses, okay? So the organic theory was found by Frederick Ratzel in 1879. And the whole idea of the organic theory is a nation must always seek out and conquer new territories in order to survive. So a country can't just be happy with what land masses it currently has. It should always be searching for new land masses to expand its boundaries. And other territories are doing the same thing, so you must to survive, meaning that other countries are doing the same thing. So if you want power, then you also need to claim new land masses all the time. Okay, the law of the jungle, eat or be eaten. So this idea of the organic theory is that you must expand your territory all the time or you will not be the most powerful. Hitler used this theory. He believed that if Germany did not grow, it would fall victim to Europe and the rest of the world. So he wanted to claim and conquer new territories all the time. Now, how he did it, that's another, by killing people, by starting wars, that's exactly what, by genocide, yes, that is why these things take place, okay? The second thing is the heartland theory. So there's the organic theory that you always need to be conquering. The heartland theory and the rimland theory are that you just need to control certain land masses. Okay, so the organic theory, conquer all the time. The heartland theory and the rimland theory are that you just need to conquer a specific part of the world. Okay, the heartland theory, and I have an image for you to see. So the heartland theory is right here. If you control this part of the world, you will control, if you control this part of the world, you'll control the world. Okay, the rimland theory is if you control this part of the world, you'll control the world. So, hello, what are we talking about in terms of this, right? Russia wants to control Ukraine, which is another territory, right? So if he can start controlling little by little all these parts of the world or this area, then he can control the world, okay? And the whole idea of this heartland theory is if you can, this theory was created in 1904, and the idea is that this connects all the major parts of the world. So if you own this, you can set up rail lines across here, right? You can move food from one part to the other part. You can control natural resources of this area, okay? Yes, you don't have access to the sea that much, but you still have a little access to the sea. And up here is frozen land, and most people can't really access you because of the frozen, half of the year it's frozen. So it's really hard to attack you from this way, right? So if you control this part, you really do have that geographical access, okay? And it does have some obstacles to it, this theory, but it's that idea that you would have this, okay? And so whoever controls this world island dominates the world. You can control the food, the transport, weapons, resources, all of that, okay? Now, there are a couple issues with this theory, okay? And some of the issues with this theory are the fact that it does not predict the rise of China and the US, because if you look at this theory here, these theories were well before, the rise of the United States, okay, over here, or the rise of Africa, which we haven't even talked about yet, but also the rise of China is in question, okay? China is doing a lot of things behind the back to actually deal with the rimland theory, also to take over Africa through the use of building rail lines and financing in Africa. And what happens is they know that a lot of the countries they go into in Africa can't afford the financing. So China will finance railroad, or they'll finance something in Africa. And they darn well know that the country can't actually pay for whatever the implementation is of that. And they know they'll default on the loans, and then China will then own the railway or the infrastructure that they're building. It's very sneaky, but China is doing that. And so it's really important. The Western heartland is exposed to Eastern Europe, so if these countries are part of the United Nations, which didn't exist at the time, that these individuals could supply weapons to, they could have weapons and keep this line here. So the heartland does have some issues with it, okay? And Mr. Sin has a really great video on the heartland, so if you're still confused by that, you can watch that video. I'm going to stop here, and the next theory I'm going to talk about is the rimland theory, and that'll be in part 2.